So guys, the BookTubeAthon is over. I am so sad. But I read so many great books. I actually completed all of the challenges except the challenge to read 7 books. And I only had to double up 1. So I'm really proud of that. I read 5 incredible books. So I'm going to try to make this wrap up as short as possible, but I really love these books. So I really want to talk about them. I actually ended up giving 3 out of the 5 books 5 out of 5 stars, and I give a 5 out of 5 star rating very rarely, so that's insanity. So starting off the week, I read 13 Chairs by Dave Shelton. This completed the challenge of reading the last book you acquired. This book starts off with a boy in a house who opens a door and sees 12 figures sitting at this table, and they all tell him ghost stories. So this book is mainly just made up of short ghost stories. They're creepy, but they're not like give you nightmares kind of scary. Here's where I have a dilemma with this book. I really enjoyed the ghost stories. I thought they were captivating and spooky and thrilling. But the overarching story of the whole book did nothing for me. I didn't really get the meaning. So the book itself is pretty forgettable. I'm not going to be like, ooh, 13 Chairs, that's a great book, personally. However, I think this book is really great for like October, Halloween time, because the ghost stories were pretty good. So I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. Loved the ghost stories, didn't really love the whole story itself. Then I read The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. This book is where I doubled up on challenges, which is to read a book with blue on the cover and to read a book with the author who shares the same first letter of your last name, which is G. I thought this book was spectacular. I loved it. It is amazing. It was just so unique and unlike anything I've ever read. This follows a boy named Nobody, Bod for short, whose family was murdered and he is raised by ghosts in a graveyard. This whole book just kind of follows his childhood up until his teen years, with the overarching story being kind of the story of his family's murder. This book had so many genius and memorable quotes. I just wanted to underline so many things even though it's on my iPad. Then you guys, I read Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I was not sure if I was going to like this book for a lot of reasons. I didn't really love Eleanor and Park that much. I thought it was just okay. I am not the biggest contemporary person. I like contemporary, but I prefer fantasy. And this was so hyped. In fact, this completed the challenge to read a book that is someone else's favorite book. And trust me, this is a lot of people's favorite book. It was so overhyped. So going into it, I was like, I don't really know if I'll like it that much. Woo, you guys, I loved this book. I really have a lot to say about this book, but I'll try to make it quick and tell you my top 3 reasons why I thought this book was awesome. Number 1 is more of a personal reason to me. This is going to be a really strong statement, but out of every character I've ever seen on a TV show or movie or read in a book, I relate to Kath the strongest of anyone I've ever related to. This is about a girl named Kath who goes to college and writes fan fiction. So Kath and I aren't completely similar in every way. I don't write fan fiction, I actually just read a lot of it, and I have a very good relationship with my mother. But the things Kath said and thought were straight out of my mouth and brain. I had a very similar college experience to Kath. I don't want you guys to think I was alone or with no friends. I was one of those people who had a lot of friends but never went out, never partied, never drank. And when I say never, I don't mean never. I tried it, but guys, I hate it. I hated it. I hate it now. And I am not shaming people that love to party. If you love to party, like, that's awesome. But I can't express to you guys how refreshing it was to read about a character in college who didn't like going out and partying, because it's not something that's very common. It can feel very lonely to be the only person who doesn't want to go to the club and drink. So to see a character that was like that was really cool. Really cool. Also, side note, another thing that was really cool is she started college in fall of 2011, and that's when I started college. So it was really cool. She would mention little things, like for instance, she mentioned the 9/11 attacks and how she was in the 3rd grade and I was in the 3rd grade too, so it was like, that was a cool connection too. Number 2, Rainbow Rowell can craft a romance unlike any other. She took her time with it. It was so gradual and it was beautiful. So I was just watching the footage back and realized that the camera cut me off mid-sentence. But really quickly, what I was going to say is, I don't know if you guys feel this way too, but on the rare occasion when I read a really amazing love story, I fall in love as the main character is falling in love. Like, I seriously get all of the same endorphins of what it feels like for falling in love for the first time, and it's seriously like a euphoric experience. And there's nothing else I can say to describe it, but I felt that way while reading Fangirl. Yeah, now back to normal broadcasting. And number 3, Rainbow Rowell captured perfectly what it feels like to be a fan of something and to love a fictional world and characters so deeply. I want to make a whole video on this because I have a lot of thoughts on it, but she just knows exactly how it feels and I related to that on a deep level. Yes, I love this book so much, gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read Howls Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. This book completed the task of reading a book I really want to read, and I loved this too. Once again, the other book I gave 5 out of 5 stars to. I read this with Missy from Binge Reader, and we had the most fun messaging each other every day and like fangirling over this book and how good it was. It was truly a magical ride. Diana Wynne Jones is such a talented author. Her world building, her character development, it was all spot on. This is about a girl named Sophie who's the oldest of 3 sisters. Her life is kind of boring until she gets cursed into being an old woman and has to go to Howls Moving Castle to break the curse. One of the things I was telling Missy that I really loved about this book is all of the characters were amazing. You know, in some books I read, some of the side characters are just there to be there, or they just like don't do much to move the plot forward, but every character in this was well thought out, well realized, well written. I loved every character in this, even the ones I wasn't supposed to love. I thought they were all so well written that you like kind of loved them too. So I had so much fun reading this book. It was a great ride. The end was so thrilling and it was awesome. 5 out of 5 stars. And the last book I read was a graphic novel called Anyas Ghost by Vera Brosgol. I loved this book as well. This book follows a girl named Anya. She's having a really bad day and isn't focusing and falls into a well. Down at the bottom of the well, she sees a dead body skeleton and meets the ghost that belongs to that body. I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want to spoil this short book. This book was incredible. Vera Brosgol, the author of this book, also did the illustrations, and you can totally tell because the illustrations match perfectly with the writing. The illustrations were so atmospheric. I seriously like didn't see anything else around me. I was in the book. I felt like I was there. I thought the characters were drawn so amazingly. I just really loved the illustrations. The story was also great too. It was fast-paced. It had a great meaning at the end, or message at the end. Great meaning. I'm tired. It had a great message at the end, and I really enjoyed it. So guys, that was it. That was my BookTubeAthon. I read so many great things. I read some of my favorite books of the whole year in this readathon, so I'm really happy I participated. The video challenges were so much fun. I had so much fun watching all the challenges, doing all the Twitter sprints, meeting new people. It was so fun. I am hoping so much that I can do it next year because I seriously had an absolute blast. I want to thank Ariel Bissett for creating this amazing, amazing readathon. It was just fun from beginning to end, wasn't it? It was just fun. It was just so fun. Thank you guys for watching and commenting all the way through this fun BookTubeAthon. I hope you guys enjoyed my wrap-up. I'm excited to see all of your wrap-ups too. Bye guys.